Emily Jones worked as a cashier at Wilson's grocery store, barely making ends meet with her single mom's salary. On a busy day before Thanksgiving, she noticed an elderly woman struggling to pay for basic groceries. Without hesitation, Emily used her own credit card to cover the $78 bill. What she didn't know was that someone very special was watching through the store cameras. This simple act of kindness from a 24-year-old cashier living paycheck to paycheck would soon change her life forever. The events that followed left everyone in the store speechless, proving that sometimes the smallest gestures can bring the most unexpected rewards. Hi everyone, welcome to Life's Touching Stories. Today I'm excited to share a new story with you. Emily lived in a small apartment with her mom, Laura, who had been battling health issues for 3 years. Their medical bills kept piling up, and Emily's cashier job barely covered their basic needs. Every morning, Emily walked 2 miles to Wilson's grocery store to save bus money. Her co-workers often saw her counting quarters during lunch breaks, trying to make sure she had enough for the month's rent. That November morning started like any other. Emily put on her blue work vest and name tag, forcing a smile despite having only $43 left in her account until next payday. The store was extra busy with Thanksgiving shoppers. Emily kept her usual friendly attitude, greeting each customer warmly while dealing with the holiday rush. Around noon, an elderly woman named Grace came to Emily's checkout line. She wore a worn-out coat and carried a small basket with basic Thanksgiving items, a small turkey, potatoes, and some vegetables. When Grace reached for her wallet, her hands trembled. She counted her money 3 times, her face growing more worried. "I'm sorry, dear. I thought I had enough, but I'm $78 short," she said softly. Emily noticed tears forming in Grace's eyes. The old woman started removing items from her basket, her hands shaking. "I'll just take the bread and soup," Grace whispered, looking down at her feet. Other customers in line started shifting impatiently. Emily looked at Grace's disappointed face and thought about her own grandmother, who had passed away last year. Without thinking twice, she pulled out her own credit card. "Please don't worry about it, Grace. I'll take care of this," Emily said, sliding her card through the machine. Grace's eyes widened with surprise and concern. "Oh, no, dear. I couldn't possibly let you do that." Emily gently placed the items back in Grace's basket. "My grandmother always said Thanksgiving is about sharing. Please let me help." Her voice was soft but firm. Grace's eyes filled with tears as she hugged Emily across the counter. In the store's security room, Henry sat watching the cameras. As the owner of several tech companies, he often visited different stores to understand everyday people's lives. Today's visit to Wilson's grocery store had shown him something special. Henry observed as Emily helped Grace pack her groceries. He noticed Emily's worn-out shoes and the way she massaged her tired feet when no one was looking. Through the cameras, he could see the genuine kindness in her actions. After Grace left, Emily checked her phone balance, $35. She took a deep breath, knowing she'd have to skip lunch for the next week, but seeing Grace's grateful smile made it worth it. During her break, Emily called her mom. "Hey, Mom, I might be a bit late with my half of the rent this month." Laura's worried voice came through. "Everything okay, honey?" Emily didn't mention helping Grace. She didn't want her mom to worry more. Back at the register, Emily continued working. An elderly man bought $300 worth of groceries. A young mom with 3 kids purchased baby formula. A teenager bought snacks for study night. Emily treated each one with the same warmth. Henry kept watching. He saw Emily share her last granola bar with a hungry child who had dropped his candy. He noticed how she helped a man in a wheelchair reach items from high shelves during her break. At 6 p.m., Emily's manager called her to the office. Her heart raced, wondering if someone had complained about her being too slow during the rush hour. She had tried her best to keep up with the long lines. The security cameras captured Emily walking to the office, rubbing her tired eyes. She had no idea that her act of kindness toward Grace had set something big in motion, something that would change not just her life, but her entire family's future. Emily walked into the manager's office, her legs tired from standing all day. Mr. Anderson, her manager, sat behind his desk with an unusual smile. Next to him stood a well-dressed Asian man she had never seen before. "Emily, please take a seat," Mr. Anderson said. "This is Mr. Henry. He owns several businesses and has been visiting our store today." Emily smoothed her wrinkled vest, wondering if she had done something wrong. Henry stepped forward. I saw what you did for that elderly woman today, Emily. I've been watching you through the store cameras. Tell me, why did you help her when you clearly couldn't afford it? Emily shifted in her chair. Grace reminded me of my grandmother. I couldn't let her go home without a Thanksgiving meal. My mom and I might struggle sometimes, but we always have each other. Grace seemed so alone. Henry nodded thoughtfully. I also noticed you've been helping other customers all day. The wheelchair-bound man, the child with the candy, all while being exhausted yourself. Emily's cheeks turned red. It's just the right thing to do, sir. My mom taught me that kindness doesn't cost anything. She didn't mention her aching feet or empty bank account. Your mother taught you well, Henry said. I've been looking for someone to manage my new community outreach program, someone with genuine compassion and understanding of people's struggles. Emily's heart started beating faster. Henry continued. The position pays $85,000 a year, with full health benefits. Emily's eyes widened. That was more than 4 times her current salary. But sir, I don't have a college degree, Emily stammered. I only have my high school diploma and this cashier job. She looked down at her worn-out shoes, feeling overwhelmed. Henry smiled warmly. You have something more valuable, genuine kindness and leadership skills. You handle difficult situations with grace. That's exactly what I need, Mr. Anderson beamed proudly. Emily has been our best cashier for 2 years. She never calls in sick and always helps train new employees. His voice carried genuine appreciation. Emily's hands trembled as Henry handed her his business card. Take tonight to think about it. Talk to your mother. The job includes flexible hours so you can take care of her medical needs. The security cameras captured Emily's shocked expression as she learned about this life-changing opportunity. But the biggest surprise was still to come. Henry had one more announcement that would leave Emily speechless. There's one more thing, Henry said, reaching into his briefcase. I want to take care of your mother's medical bills. He placed a check on the desk. Emily's eyes filled with tears as she saw the amount. This isn't charity, Henry explained. I'm investing in someone who understands the value of kindness. The world needs more people like you running businesses. Emily tried to speak but couldn't find the words. That evening, Emily walked home in a daze. The check felt heavy in her pocket. She remembered all the nights her mom had worked double shifts to raise her alone after Dad passed away. All the times they had to choose between medicine and food. Opening their apartment door, Emily found her mom asleep on the couch, surrounded by medical bills. Laura worked from home as a virtual assistant, fighting through her pain to make ends meet. Mom, wake up. Emily gently shook her mother. Laura opened her eyes, immediately noticing her daughter's tears. What's wrong, honey? Did something happen at work? Emily told her everything about Grace and the groceries, about Henry watching through the cameras, about the job offer and the check. Laura listened, her own eyes welling up with tears. I always knew your heart would take you places, sweetheart. Laura hugged her daughter tight. Your father would have been so proud. They sat together, crying and laughing, planning their future for the first time without worry. Later that night, Emily received a text from an unknown number. It was Grace. Mr. Anderson had given her Emily's contact information. Thank you for today, dear. You reminded me that there's still goodness in this world. Emily smiled, typing back. Thank you, Grace. You reminded me of my grandmother. Would you like to join Mom and me for Thanksgiving dinner? She knew their small apartment had plenty of room for one more person. The next morning, Emily walked to work with a light heart, but instead of her usual cashier vest, she wore her best dress. Henry had asked her to visit his office to sign the contract. Mr. Anderson stopped her before she left. We'll miss you here, Emily, but you deserve this chance. He handed her a card signed by all her co-workers. Even the grumpy stock boy had written a nice message. The security cameras that had captured her act of kindness now recorded her last day as a cashier. Emily looked up and smiled, knowing her life had changed because she chose kindness over convenience. 1 year later, Emily stood in front of Wilson's grocery store. She wasn't there to work, but to launch a new program. As the community outreach director for Henry Enterprises, she had created kindness cards, special debit cards for cashiers to help customers in need. Henry stood beside her, watching proudly as she explained the program to her former co-workers. Every store in his chain would now have a monthly kindness fund. No customer would have to leave without groceries because they were a few dollars short. Emily's mom, Laura, sat in the audience healthy and strong. The medical treatments they could finally afford had worked wonders. She no longer needed to work through pain, and their new apartment had enough space for her small online business. Grace was there too, holding a dish of homemade cookies. After that first Thanksgiving dinner, she had become like family. Every Sunday she joined them for dinner, filling their home with stories and laughter. She wasn't alone anymore. This program started because of one person's kindness. Henry addressed the crowd. Emily didn't help Grace for a reward. She did it because she cared. That's the kind of leadership our world needs. Emily's team had already helped hundreds of families. She hired people who understood struggle, who knew what it meant to choose between bills and food. Her own experience as a cashier made her a better leader. Mr. Anderson approached Emily after the ceremony. "Remember when you used to count quarters during lunch breaks?" "Hey," both laughed. Now Emily made sure all cashiers in Henry's stores earned living wages and had good benefits. That evening, Emily visited her old checkout counter. The security cameras were still there, silently watching. She smiled, remembering the day that changed everything. A new cashier was helping an elderly man who was short on cash. Without hesitation, the cashier pulled out a kindness card. Emily watched the elderly man's grateful smile, the same smile she had seen on Grace's face a year ago. The cycle of kindness continued. Back home, Emily helped her mom prepare dinner. Grace would be coming over with her famous apple pie. As they cooked, Laura hugged her daughter. "You didn't just change our lives that day, Emily. You're changing lives every day now." Emily looked at the family photos on their wall, including one from last Thanksgiving with Grace. Sometimes the biggest blessings come from the smallest acts of kindness. All it takes is one person brave enough to care. Love this story? Tap that like button and subscribe to Life's Touching Stories for more. Let us know how this story made you feel with a single word in the comments.